Marc put the hard-on back into rock and roll. He made it shiny, he made it effervescent, he made it fun.
He was definitely born to boogie, yes, he was always a star.
France is fine, France is good, everybody says it's just like Robin Hood.
I mean, Marc, I felt was certainly a pioneer and the prince of glam rock.
He was a big influence on the 70s because he was the first real glam rocker in the way he looked. Everybody else followed him, even Bowie.
He gets labelled as a glam act. He's not a glam act. He's a great pop rock act, one of the great ones.
He was constantly exploring himself and musical frontiers and expanding them.
T-Rex was probably one of the most influential bands of the 70s. Without T-Rex, I'm not sure whether David Bowie would have actually come up with the Ziggy Stardust image. I'm not sure whether glam would have happened. I'm not sure whether we would have seen men with long hair walking around with feather boas and glitter.
He definitely sort of changed the direction of sort of British music.
I wanna be your man. When it's plain to see you remember me, and I'm your toy.
If I am a star, it feels all right. You know, it's...
Are you? Êtes-vous une star?
I don't know. People have said that. I consider myself an artist, you know, and a writer, poet, guitar player. So if that's what a star is, then I must be a star, I suppose.
Suddenly, overnight, he was a top 10 pop star, appearing on Top of the Pops and being screamed at and chased down the street by thousands of adoring fans.
You know, to be in a car with all these girls on top, and at one point we had to put our feet, like lie on the thing and put our feet up in the air to stop the car roof coming down, you know. And it was a mixture of exhilaration and terror.
I thought that he was the bopping elf, and that you know, when he turned into the superstar supremo, I was absolutely bowled over, and I was really annoyed that I wasn't getting the money. Some other bastard's got the money.
There was a time when, you know, at Marc's apartment in Little Venice, that we used to crawl on the floor from room to room because the people outside could see us. And they were the girls, you know, and they would go completely bonkers, you know.
I think he was a big influence on the 70s because he was the first real glam rocker in the way he looked. Everybody else followed him, even Bowie.
Well, my friend Chalita was really the one who did that, because she was the one who dressed him in her clothes and in her makeup. And sadly, Chalita's one of the ones who's with us no more. She walked up to the top of her stairs and had a heart attack at the top of her stairs, which is better than at the bottom. Age 55 in Marrakesh, in fact. But she was the one who got hold of Marc and said, put this on, put this on, put this on. And she was very challenging visually herself, and she pretty much applied her look to him.
I don't understand what the hoo-ha was all about when suddenly Marc had eyeliner on. I mean, if you're an actor, you have eyeliner on. And bands, ever since I can remember, if you went on TV, you couldn't go on until the makeup lady had put a bit of cake on your head to stop the shine or to stop your veins showing. And Marc just took that one step further. He said, if you're performing, you actually have to, you've got to change to go on stage. And he wasn't really anything other than kind of a product of his time. He was first. I can remember doing early gigs with him, and you'd be amazed at who'd be in the audience taking notes.
You do your sweet and you're my girl. Get it on.
He was the originator. He was the first person to ever appear on TV with a bit of glitter under his eye and things. I mean, he kind of like definitely launched that whole glam rock thing.
I don't think he went out to invent glam rock at all. Everybody else actually took it up, took the idea up. So he initiated it unknowingly, I think.
Listening back to T-Rex material nowadays, I would say that we weren't really that glam musically. we certainly started the movement with clothing. I think it was more of a social phenomenon. It was a fashion statement that Marc was making. The music is rockabilly, it's R&B, it's Chuck Berry revamped.
Steve and I, we were like working lads, you know, trying to keep everything steady and rock solid, and left the other two to dress up.
He found something, he believed in something, but he loved to have fun, and he put that energy into the music. He didn't take it for granted, but he wanted to rock, and he wanted to take it, he took it strong, but it's a strange thing, because that was considered pop music of the time, but compared to the pop music that's out now, there was so much more soul and depth to that,
Telegram Sam, January 1972, #1, first release on Marc's label, distributed by EMI Records, and I think the third #1 T-Rex pop chart wonderment in 11 months. It's not bad going.
Telegram Sam, Telegram Sam, you, all my main man.
At the time, we music critics tended to look down our nose a bit at Marc at this point for repeating himself. And, if you hear a succession of the hits one after the other over a short, over a few months, you start to think, well, he's losing the plot here. But in retrospect, actually, they're all great. Telegram Sam still sounds great. You hear it again 20 years later, and you think, well, that's good fun, that's a great record, it still stands out.
They managed to actually create a bigger sound, if you like. Electric Warrior had a lot of orchestral parts that Tony Visconti had put onto it, but with Telegram Sam, from the royalties that they'd actually had from the previous #1s, they were able to put a lot more money into buying new equipment, more state-of-the-art stuff, so they were able to get a much more professional sound. And in a way, that was, Marc Bolan was happy with that. He wanted the band to sound that little bit more polished.
I'm a guitarist, I'm a bassist, and I write strings. I'm a backing vocalist, I could sing, and we used Flo and Eddie, who used to be with Frank Zappa, and they used to be the Turtles. We used them up until Get It On, and then afterwards they wanted to be paid. And Marc said, forget about it. I thought they were doing it just for the vibe. So we didn't use Flo and Eddie afterwards because Marc didn't want to pay them. And so he turned to me one day, say on Telegram Sam, and he said, you can sing high, can't you? And I said, yeah, I can sing falsetto, So I took the place of Flo, and Marc took the place of Eddie. And all the backups you hear from Telegram